So you go by Reggie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, thanks a lot for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Hey, so tell me a little bit about just, I guess, your short story about going into connecting with the Spurs. Like, how did that all start?
Um, to be honest with you, I don't really think it's a short story. Because one thing I've kind of learned and one thing I try to adopt, in my personal life is to honor every relationship that I have, as it relates to my career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just in life in general, as best as I can. So kind of going back to the beginning, you know, I was at the Norfolk State University, in Charles Smith Hall with my then roommate, Philip Amofa. He was a photographer on campus. He would travel around to different universities and photograph things. I was writing heavily at the time. And,
Mm-hmm.
we had one night where we was just talking and he let me hold his camera and, I gave it back to him and I always, tell people that my palms were sweating. Right. And, it kind of let me know that, I should kind of explore this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I kind of begged my mother for the rest of that semester to, buy me a camera. Right. And, $500 isn't, is a lot of money to invest in something. Right. Especially if you don't know anything about it. Right. So beg her for it. And I get the camera to kind of keep, the story as short as I can. I kind of took it serious. Right. I was using my class schedule to photograph things after class. So I would usually be done at around 10, 11 a.m. Try to photograph sports, photograph my roommates throughout the years in college, like, just shooting anything, athletics, Greek life, my roommate just sitting there in the room. And in the summertime, I would do street photography and I would stay abreast to Twitter as I kind of wanted, as I wanted to shape what I wanted my career to look like. I was staying on Twitter to see what was going on in the city,
Mm-hmm.
kind of pulling up, not working for a newspaper, not working for anybody, just being present. During the time, it was a lot of, protests and stuff like that. And then I kind of used all that kind of work over those couple years. And then I got an internship with the Baltimore City paper, summer 2015,
Mm-hmm.
under Joe Giordano. And I was also writing for them as well. More so art reviews and stuff like that, as opposed to like, traditional, I guess, news articles.
What kind of reviews? Music?
Music
Film?
reviews, movie reviews, some personal essays, stuff like that. Not necessarily like reporting.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that, and then did that for a couple years, and just because of the time that the city was in, I was documenting a lot of the stuff surrounding the death of Freddie Gray
Mm-hmm.
and everything that kind of happened after it. And I personally got to a point where I noticed that people weren't really calling me to photograph anything else besides trauma and pain
Mm-hmm.
and the murder rate and stuff like that, which is of course a part of where I'm from, but it's not the only thing, right? It's for a city that's 70% Black, there's other stories beyond just suffering and despair. And
Yeah.
you know a lot of people don't know my first ever time going to a funeral was to photograph a funeral for work. And I just at some point I just got, I got I don't want to say tired of it, but I just felt like I didn't want my career to be built off of the suffering of my people, right? So um I always wanted to work, be a sports photographer. So I kind of made a very deliberate shift in um, the work I was taking on and the work I was
Mm-hmm.
doing. So the summer after I graduated, I hit up my high school basketball coach. Well, he wasn't my high school basketball coach, but he was the coach at my high school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, basically said, hey, I want to be a team photographer at some point. I would love to document the school. I mean, the team this year. Went to Alumni Open Gym with my friend and former teammate Paul Taylor. Let Coach Sam Brand know what I wanted to do, and he believed in me as a person more than anything. And believed in my ability, and I basically spent a whole season with my high school basketball team. Being at the gym from 2:45, sitting in the car waiting for the school to let out up until 11 o'clock most nights, about 6 days a week for that whole school year. We won our first state championship in school history. I got to be a part of that, right? And just kind of seeing, I went to the school, so I knew where the kids was hanging out at. I taught some of them how to drive because, I'm a person first, right? So I wasn't always photographing, like, some moments where I was just being a person. And, got to do that. And then the paper shut down the summer after that. I got a grant from the Baltimore Institute of Nonprofit Journalism as the paper was shutting down, and my former editor, Brandon Soderberg. And I turned all this work I was making from the high school project. I was documenting the Brunson League, ran by Sean Brunson, and just pulling up the basketball courts, just shooting, just photographing, and sometimes playing. Sometimes I would leave my camera. That probably wasn't smart. I was doing stuff like that. And I got this grant, and I just kind of compiled this into this book that I made called The City That Hoops. Will Barton was kind enough to have something in it. I just kind of wanted to tie it all together. And to keep it going, I was coaching the JV team that whole second year.
What high school is this?
Baltimore Polytechnic Institute.
Okay.
Again, the paper was folding, so I didn't have a job. I was studying for my GRE to go to University of Maryland for sports journalism. I got in, but I didn't go. And the reason I didn't go was because luckily I got an internship with the Red Sox in 2018. And, I don't know how much you know about that year, but we won 119 games, won the World Series. So, to be an intern and having that experience, I felt like prepared me for my second season at Fenway, which was the staff photographer role. It's like a rotational program. It's a lot to it. And then, the Spurs job opened up in April, right around April, May, something, right around the start of the season. Just coming off the internship, I didn't think I was ready. But then it opened up for whatever reason again in June. And I said, it's a reason why people sending me this. It's a reason why I opened up twice and people sending it to me. So I applied. I went through several rounds of interviews, and the way that the program at Fenway is set up, that second year, they basically tell you if a job opens up the second day of spring training, take it. So luckily, it was towards the end of the season, and I pretty much finished out the regular season, and I started with the Spurs in 2019.
2019. What month was that?
I got hired on the spot August 17th, 2019.
So before the season started, so you're ready to go.
Yep.
Very cool. What were you studying in college when you grabbed that camera for the first time? It wasn't photography, was it?
No, I was studying sociology. I got a bachelor's in sociology from.
What was the idea in your head that you would do with it? What was like your initial plans before you realized photography was what you wanted?
I didn't have one.
Okay. Hey,
I didn't.
So you're just kind of doing the.
Yeah, it's crazy because my high school, kind of prepares you to work in STEM.
Right.
Big engineering school, big math and science school, Blue Ribbon School of Excellence. But I applied to college for architecture and engineering, but just knowing that you had to keep up, keep getting permits every however many years until I was like,
yeah,
I want to do that.
So what year did you graduate with your sociology degree?
2016.
Okay. And how old are you right now?
I'm 28.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realize that you're that young, 28. Okay, cool. So when you started taking photos the first time, and you said you were taking some of your roommates, some sports stuff, some Greek life, What resonated with you most about the sports photography compared to everything else? What do you like about that specific photography the most when you compare everything else? You are mute, I think.
I mean,
Okay,
I grew up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Well, yeah, I grew up playing basketball. My father taught me how to play basketball when I was 5 years old. I just grew up playing and watching sports, and I think for me and what I try to communicate in the work that I'm making, whether it's here, whether it's with the Red Sox, whether it's in Baltimore or any other personal projects I'm doing that are sports related or sports adjacent. I try to focus on the humanity of the person as opposed to them just being in the jersey. And, just by virtue of, sports being what it is, the team is going to get told through the stories of the players and who they are as people. And that's kind of what I always, try to lean in on. I don't, I don't place too much value on the athletic prowess. It's more so for me about who they are as a person and
Mm.
how who they are shapes how they perform on the court or on the field or whatever the case may be. Basically I just try to make it a person first, humanity thing, as opposed to just sports. You get what I mean?
Just
Because, a lot of times people get lost in the fact that these players are people first.
mhm.
Um, that's kind of how I try to approach everything I'm doing.
But sports in general, I mean, that's something that did it seem more exciting? I understand the people first aspect of it, but did sports seem more exciting than, say, shooting landscapes or something like that?
Um, I didn't really compare the two or three. I just think it's a human thing.
Mhm.
Um, and trials, tribulations, triumphs. Uh, I feel like not to disrespect landscape photography, but to me, there's a lot of story there that's um, dynamic and nuanced. If one, look at it in that way,
Yeah.
um, and two, lean in on it.
Right, right. I just pick landscaping because there's normally no people in it unless we're talking about like Western. Then you have cowboys and things like that, of course. But what did you grow up? Who did you grow up cheering for? You said you were a basketball fan. I don't think the Bullets had a team. Baltimore had a team since the Bullets back in the '50s or so. So who would you cheer for?
So it's funny, growing up, I didn't really know that the Wizards played on TV until Michael Jordan played on. Like Michael Jordan came to the Wizards. I remember that being the first time the Wizards being on TV.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
And that was 2003, something like that. But
right.
before then, I grew up a big Allen Iverson fan,
Mm,
big Kobe Bryant fan, big Kevin Garnett fan, of course Tim Duncan, Jason Kidd. Um, my father was a Lakers fan, so I grew up watching a lot of Lakers games and just knowing about Jabbar, Chamberlain, and all those guys. So, and then of course, like in other sports, Cal Ripken, of course, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Jamal
mm.
Lewis, um, and just anybody that that kind of resonated with me in some way. I was a fan of. I wouldn't say I was like a hometown kind of guy, but of course, if the Ravens come on every Sunday, you're gonna see the Ravens, and start to learn who the players are, stuff like that. So I kind of grew up watching a little bit of everything. Even in wrestling, I was a big The Rock fan, big Rey Mysterio fan. I'm only 5'7", so like
Okay.
you know, like seeing him, do all his stuff and beat bigger people and all that kind of stuff. The mystery of him wearing a mask and the story behind that.
Yeah. Did you
You know,
grow up in Baltimore?
yep, grew up in
Okay, so you
Baltimore.
grew up in Baltimore. And so when you moved to San Antonio, was there any kind of culture clash or how did that work out when you moved? I guess you moved over here in 2019.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. It's not so much a culture clash. I've lived in different places. And I know the world is a big place, right? So You know, I moved to Virginia, which is basically the part I was in. To me, felt more like Carolina. When I was, you know, in college, 17 years old. You know, I lived in Boston for 2 years. You know, to me, it's not. It's, you know, it's just something that you learn over time, right? And you know, as for me, as my time is allowed, you get what I mean, with the season being so long.
Yeah, definitely. Your picture froze, just to let you know. I can still hear you, but the video froze. So, but if we can keep going unless the voice freezes. Can you hear me still?
Hey, Reggie, it might be helpful to start and stop your video if you haven't already. You're still frozen.
Yeah, I had him on voice for a little bit and then it went away.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to try stopping and starting, if you haven't, sometimes that helps. Oh, maybe he's going to rejoin. We'll take a little pause.
Yeah, a little pause, no worries. Is that your office? The lights up there.
We're at the arena.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm at the arena. I don't know where Reggie is today, but yeah, I'm at the arena.
Very cool.
You can see it behind me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Where, Kiko, where are you from?
I'm originally from here, so yeah.
I've only met one other Kiko, and he was from Madrid.
Oh really? Spanish?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so I've been here all my life. Been cheering for the Spurs since I was little.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Although I have to admit, I did have a soft spot for Charles Barkley for a long time.
I don't think we can have you say that.
Right. I just like this style of play. Oh, before I forget, I wanted to tell you I'm going to email you. I did a story on this actor who's going to be in the new Steven Spielberg movie coming up this fall called The Fabelmans.
Uh-huh.
Long story short, he used to do Spurs commercials when he was like 8 or 9 years old. So he has a couple on his website where he did during their playoff run in the early 2000s. So he's actually he moved. He was raised in San Antonio. He moved out to LA, and he recently, since last week, moved back to San Antonio.
Oh wow!
So when he was telling me his story, I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Oh, it'd be so cool to connect with the Spurs. I'd love to do something again with them." So I'll send you his information if that's something that you're interested in. But yeah, he's an up and comer, but he has a San Antonio connection.
I'd love to see his commercials. That's so fun.
Oh yeah, it's a cute little commercial. I mean, he's 19 now. I think actually today's his birthday. He's 19 now, and when he did it, I think he was like 9 years old, 9 or 10. So he looks really young. He's shooting. It's a commercial. He's shooting baskets by himself in the AT&T Center and like reliving some of the plays from their like the Spurs' first 2-round matchups. So it's pretty funny.
I mean, I've been here a year. I haven't lived here in 20 years. So
oh, okay.
It's interesting because I can't think of commercials except for the HB commercials, you know? So I can't even imagine us ever hiring actors. Like, I'm like, what? We hired people? Like,
hire people to help sell tickets, I guess. Yeah, I don't think you need more than the HEB commercials these days. It's pretty.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously we have a much different strategy now because that's what we do. But I just think it's so funny because I can't think of a time that we used actors in our commercials. But I haven't been here long enough. And when I left, you know, I was so young because I don't remember it, you know. But it's good to be back. So yeah, I would love to see it because I have no idea what our commercials looked like at that time.
Yeah, that's funny.
Let's see. We see you coming on, Reggie. Hopefully you can start to hear us. This is what I meant when I said Reggie always has IT issues. I jinxed it from the beginning.
There you go.
If you want to take note too, Kiko, he's rejoining. Where's our time? I don't see it. Do you see our time?
I don't think
I'm here.
Oh, you know what? And now we have feedback on you.
don't know what happened. I was in the middle of talking and then I finished my answer and then you wasn't moving. I said, you froze? I said, you froze. And then it just kicked me off, I guess.
No
I don't know
problem,
what.
no problem.
Well, we're
I'm
about
sorry.
20 minutes in, Kiko, so if you want to take a note of that.
Yeah, no problem. Sounds good.
Okay.
So, Reggie, tell me a little bit about your first game. What was the experience like? You know, sitting down on the. I'm guessing since you're the official. Is that your title? You're the official photographer for the San Antonio Spurs?
Yeah, the team photographer.
Team photographer. Okay, so that means that are you on the sideline?
Yeah, pretty much. I travel full time with the team. You know, do media day and you know all that. So
Okay.
yeah.
So game one of your career, what's that like? If you can take me back to that first moment when you took the stage in that way.
I think the first moment for me wasn't the first game. I think it was the first time being in the practice facility.
Because you're shooting them there too, right? During.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, you come in, you know, growing up being a fan of basketball and being, just knowing where you at. You get what I mean? It's like uh people don't get this opportunity. People like me don't get this opportunity. And it's a great honor, and it's I kind of approach it every time I'm in the gym or outside the plane or whenever I cover an event. I try to do the best I can, for the organization, and also knowing that you know I have people that have followed my career and are looking at me to set an example, to pave the way for others. Um, so it's not something that I take lightly or for granted. And I just try to do the best I can with every opportunity I have to photograph the players and the team.
Now you said the photography for you is all about people. So give me an idea of like when you point the camera at a player on a fast break or posting up or doing something like that. What do you focus on? What is the specific story you want to tell with each photograph you take?
Sports action, as far as dribbling, passing, and shooting, is more about understanding tendencies than anything. I think, I guess the question that I feel like you're trying to ask is a little bit more like the nuanced stuff about the players, that people don't get a chance to see or the broadcast cameras don't pick up. Right. That's where I kind of try to focus more on who they are in the game. Right. Because again, everybody can see what a jumper look like, but what stories can I tell that are kind of non-traditional, I guess, when you look at a game. So just kind of thinking about my answer, a picture that kind of sticks out in my mind, since I've been here, is a picture that I made of Rudy hugging Keldon. I think Keldon might have had a bad game or they lost or something, but it's a tender moment. You get what I mean? And when you think about everything as it relates to sports, expression, camaraderie, masculinity, like it's so much there, that you can derive from a photo if you think about it in those terms, right? So a dunk is beautiful, it's art, but it's the other stuff that I kind of try to lean in on, as well, because I know the basketball part is going to happen. It's about am I paying attention to the quieter moments, the stuff that I only have one potential opportunity at in a given game or practice, or even just being around. You get what I mean? Like, if I walk around and I see, I don't know, the team nutritionist talking to a player in the practice facility, like, those relationships matter too. And even just documenting the staff. We spend a lot of time on the road, and people's families want to know what they up to. People, their lives should be documented as well, because they're doing important work in their own right. And their families are just as proud of them as you know, a player who got, you know,
Yeah.
17 million Instagram followers, you know. You know, I feel like it's kind of thinking about it in those terms kind of is how I kind of try to look at
Well, that's interesting.
the
That's
game.
interesting because I mean, you're saying that you take a lot of, you put a lot of there's a lot of interest for you in the quieter moments when other, I mean, a lot there, I'm sure that there's other photographers in the business who strive to get that, you know, posterized shot because it's going to land on the front page of the newspaper, but that's not the way you think.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, of course, I would love that too. You know, as far as action shots go, like when Keldon dunked on Grant Williams, I thought, you know, I got lucky from as you know, with regards to where I was at for that frame. For that particular frame, I went up high just because you know, I wouldn't say I was bored, but I wanted to look at the game from a different spot for a little while. And he dunked on Grant Williams. And you know, it was the open, what I call the open side for me. So his shoulder wasn't blocking his face. And he, you know, he banged on him. And I was like, I like that. You know, so, you know, I got lucky. You know, some of it is luck too, you know.
How much are you moving around on the sideline?
It depends on the game. I try to spend at least half the game somewhere else. As opposed to being on the floor and just moving around. It doesn't make it harder, yes, but you know, that's the point.
Well,
you know,
do you have parameters as a photographer, or can you basically be anywhere you want?
you know, the league rules, of course, you know, got to be in the box if you're on the floor, in the boxes. Luckily, you know, and any team photographer or, you know, newspaper photographer will tell you that